Hey, by the looks of my watch, it's officially grave time. Well, if this couldn't be any more cheesier than having to tell you something here in my garage, I didn't really know where else to do it, and well, I'm not the best to talk on camera in person. I like to always be behind the camera and narrating my videos. A couple nights ago, my band played a gig at the Press Club in Sacramento. After the concert, I headed home and turned on Coast to Coast AM on the local network, 1530 AM, KFBK that is, and they had a new guest host on Coast to Coast named Ryan Recker, and I figured, hey, tonight's the night to get through on Open Lines. And I could either talk about cryptids, or I could talk about what I know, cemeteries. And that's exactly what I did. At exactly 12:51 p.m., I was a guest calling in for the first time on Coast to Coast with the new guest host, Ryan Recker. And this is the audio that I have been able to provide for you because I'm a Coast Insider. I pay a yearly subscription so I can download episodes of Coast to Coast. And this is what you're about to hear. So enjoy.
And welcome back to Coast AM. I'm Ryan Recker. It's my first show hosting Coast to Coast. What a radio dream come true. I'm based in Detroit. I do news radio here in Detroit. That's my main job. And I just won a Murrow Award this week, which is pretty exciting. I have a whole list of awards I've won in my career, and a Murrow Award is such an honor, but nothing is as exciting as when they said, would you like to guest host Coast to Coast AM? I passed out, and then when I came to, they said, are you okay? And I said, I thought you said you wanted me to guest host Coast to Coast AM. And they said, that's what we said. I passed out again, woke back up, and then I realized we're in reality, and it is a Friday night, which means Open Line Friday night. And I love open lines, and I can't wait to take some of your calls. So let's go to the first line, or the first-time caller line, rather. Like I said, it's my first time filling in for Coast to Coast AM, so I have a great love in my heart for the first-time caller line. Christian, calling in from Oak Grove, California. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hey, I'm actually calling from Elk Grove, California.
Oh, Elk Grove. Got it.
Yeah, so I've been listening to Coast for many years and decades, and one topic I never, ever hear on here is the topic of cemeteries. And that's actually one of my hobbies. I like to explore cemeteries. And I have a YouTube channel, and I document cemeteries, and they're just very peaceful places to visit. You're one with nature. You get to see history. So I was just actually wondering, do you have any cemeteries near you that you've ever explored, and or what's your thoughts on cemeteries? Do you think they're a fun place to explore, or relax?
I can't say I go there to relax. I understand that there is almost an industry of people that visit cemeteries and take photos for people that can't visit themselves, but they would like a photo of a grave site of one of their loved ones. Do you ever take requests like that?
Yeah, it's Find a Grave. Find a
Grave, right. And I know there's people that go and they like to look at celebrity graves, people that have notes that may have been buried in the area. I can't say I've had a lot of ambition to do that in my free time, though. Tell me, what would be the upside to that? Tell me what happens when you visit a cemetery, at least for you.
Well, I love history, and I love to explore because, the cemetery, it's, the cemetery, like in your own community, it's the people that lived before you, the people that, developed your community. And so I like that. I'm always curious about other people's lives, how they lived back then. I've been to the graves of celebrities and local people, but I also like researching about, everyday people like you and I, because we all have a story to tell. So I'll go to the cemetery and I'll come across an interesting tombstone or with a person's name, and then I'll either go online or I'll research the name on newspapers. And if they're interesting enough, I'll do a video about them on my YouTube channel.
That's great. You know, that's an interesting hobby, I'll tell you that. I really admire the service groups like the Boy Scouts that will go to cemeteries and they'll clean the grave sites, or they will put flags at the grave sites, especially on a Memorial Day weekend. Anyone that may be doing that with their children this weekend, with their kids, what a worthwhile thing to do to serve the community in that sense, especially for those veterans who lost their lives and may be at a military or a VA cemetery. Thank you, Christian, for the call.
Well, hey, folks, there you go. I got to call into Open Lines on Coast to Coast for the first time, on the first-time caller line, and to talk about cemeteries, something I've been passionate about for quite a long time. And it was a very special moment. It was one of those times where I guess all the stars aligned, and, you know, by the grace of God above, I made it through, and it was great. The only bummer is when I called in and talked to the lady screening the calls, I told her I was from Elk Grove, California. 9 times out of 10, people always say Oak Grove, like when I'm making my replenishing my supply of CPAP supplies. Typically, the people on the other end always think I'm saying oak, and it's really supposed to be elk. So, ELK, Elk Grove. So I had a feeling that was going to be messed up on the other line, and sure enough, it was. But it's okay. You know, it's just about how you enunciate. That's why I try really hard to enunciate when I present my videos. The other thing was I'm bummed I didn't get to drop the name Grave Time when I mentioned I had a YouTube channel. I was hoping the guest host Ryan Record would have asked, "Oh, what's the name of your YouTube channel?" It never came to that, and I didn't want to plug it right away and then get, you know, basically kicked off the radio show. So it was just an honor to have this opportunity to call in. And that's about it. I mean, there's nothing to it. It's just pure luck, I guess. You know, I keep calling redial, and finally I got through, and it's a great moment. So to all of you watching, this is probably just a boring episode to you, but I wanted to document this because this is something very significant and a very marker in the timeline of my life, as well as 2025, and I wanted to document this, at least for myself. And thank you so much for watching this episode of Grave Time. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell wherever it is. Is it up here, there, wherever? Anyways, God bless you and have a wonderful day. Bye.